So if you look in the chats, I've just put a couple of pictures in there that um, you might want to use for reference. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show two of the new weapons. We're not going to go through each of the weapons. We're just going to label the weapons A and B. A is going to be the newest weapons. B is the older weapons. And I'm doing a direct comparison between the tank weapons. It's going to be the same thing for the infantry, and it's going to be the same thing for the tank destroyer. Um, so the differences, at least. There's going to be some stuff that's going to be unexpected, according to what it says in the game versus the reality of it. But I'm going to break that all down for you really quick. So on the new weapon, we're going to call that weapon A, um, like the Moss 38. The counterattack is 180% at its base, which is 20% more at 6 stars than weapon B, which is the older one, the Irma. So you're getting a 20% extra counterattack damage increase per weapon. On top of that, the enemy, the way that it reads, and let me pull that up one more time. The way that it reads, it says troops under command deal 180% counterattack damage. Target takes 50% more. So you would think that means that the target takes 50% more counterattack damage. Counterattacks have a 30% chance to reduce the target's damage by 30%. When attacking non-player bases, your attack goes up by 250%. So when it says when attacking non-player bases, anytime you read that, it means whenever you're attacking and it's not a player's base. So if you're attacking a tower, enemy troops on the ground, if you're a garrison and being attacked, whichever it is, your troop attack is going up by 250%. You only lose that particular boost when you're attacking an enemy player's base. Now, weapon A, with that extra 50%, your counterattack is changing because you're causing that player to take 50% more counterattack damage. On two weapons, that's 100% extra counterattack damage taken. That does not mean it's double. That means if your counterattack is at 500 and something percent, now it's going to be at 600 and something percent. Plus, you're getting an extra 20% counterattack damage dealt per weapon, so that's an extra 40%. So you're looking at kind of like 140% extra damage in counterattack when you're using the new weapons. So you're dealing way more damage. For the offensive buff, you don't have that 30% for the damage dealt on weapon A. On weapon B, your baseline is 160%, and now you have a 30% chance for a 95% damage taken debuff. That's 2 seconds. The average uptime on that is going to be 51%. We're going to forget about the troop bonus of 250% attack versus the 200% defense for a moment. What this comes out to is that weapon A, the new weapons, have a constant counterattack damage output of 2.7, while the weapon B is going to average out at 2.37. on counterattack damage. So you're going to get about a 0.3% increase in counterattack damage. That comes out to around 30% more counterattack damage dealt. Now, that doesn't seem like a large amount, but then you also have the damage dealt by the enemy troop being reduced. And that's going to come out to 1.48%. So you're going to take less damage on a one-on-one fight. The new weapons are far superior. So a march with the old weapons versus a march with the new weapons, you're going to notice that the new weapons are dealing more damage and taking less damage at the same time. It also means that the damage output is more constant. So on the old weapons, there was a fluctuation of the extra damage being 30% for 2 seconds, and that made the amount of damage you were dealing not consistent. It was fluctuating greatly. You don't see that with the new weapons. Does that make sense so far? So, new weapons, the amount of damage dealt and the enemy's damage taken is a constant, and well, not damage taken, but the amount of damage dealt is constant. In the old weapons, it fluctuates, and the new weapon has a higher damage output. On top of that, the new weapons decrease the amount of damage the enemy is dealing. Now, that fluctuates. So if I go here, you'll see that the 30%, the chance of a debuff is of damage dealt. Chance to reduce the target's damage dealt by 30%. So you're going to decrease on a one-on-one fight the amount of damage the enemy march is dealing. So what does this look like on the battlefield? Well, if I'm decreasing the amount of damage from one target and increasing the damage that they're taking, then it's a numbers game. The more marches you have on the field with the new weapons, the higher impact it has, because they're all going to be dealing way more damage to a target. So players that run one single march that's super strong, that is going to be less effective when you're fighting multiple marches that have these new weapons, because they're going to be causing your single strong march to deal less damage and take more damage at the same time. Now, guys that run multiple marches, they're going to find that they're dealing way more damage with the new weapons, because those marches generally target one march. So you're going to melt targets much faster. So your time to kill is going to greatly decrease when you're using the new weapons. Now, if your march is not a field fighting march, if it's just a filler march, the old weapon is now superior to the new weapon because of the attack and defense increases. The new weapons, they increase your attack by 250% each. That's a 500% attack increase, but you're losing 400% defense. So if your march is on the way to fill a rally or a garrison, you really want it to run the old weapons where it has a higher defense, so that it's taking overall less damage on the way. Now, technically, the Moss can decrease the amount of damage that the enemy march deals, but that's only a it can. If it's only being hit for 1 second, then the Moss is technically going to be taking allowing you to take more damage than the old weapon. So if you're not field fighting with a particular march, there's no reason to grab the new weapon. If you're just filling rallies and garrisons, you're going to take less losses, which means more troops in that rally or garrison when you're filling it using the old weapon. Does that make sense? I'm going to pretend it does. So, just a summary of the difference between the new weapons and the old weapons. The new weapons are built for maximum offense. So, it provides a higher and more reliable counterattack damage boost. When you add the extra 250% troop attack on it, it's going to be even more of a powerhouse. It's a better option if you want to end battles quickly. So, you're dealing way more damage per second with the new weapons. If you're dealing more damage, in general, that means you're going to be taking less damage because you're ending that fight sooner and you're taking away more and more troops from the enemy faster. If I had a base and I was looking at, well, which one would be better to run for a garrison? Well, because not attacking a base, but defending a base, I get the extra troop attack or defense. The old weapon is going to be superior against a swarm. Now, one on one, the new weapon is going to be stronger. So if you're taking a rally, the new weapon is the way to go. If you're taking a swarm, the old weapon is going to boost your defense much higher, where the enemy doesn't get the extra troop attack or defense when they're attacking your base using these weapons. So technically, the old weapon is going to be more effective against a swarm. That's only situational. Uh, Now, something that's a little bit weird is on the old weapons, and I'm going to scroll down. There's everything is pretty clear when, as far as how it works. But when I go to the new weapon, one thing that was a little unclear, and we talked about it earlier, was it says troops under command deal 180% more counterattack damage, but deal 180% counterattack damage. Targets take 50% more. 50% more what? Well, you would assume that's counterattack damage, but we're going to actually put that to the test really quick using an officer comparison. So I'm going to pull up Silverhand and I'm going to go to officer info in the top left. And I'm going to do a comparison in the top right. And I have chosen to do a comparison of Silverhand with the Moss 38 versus Silverhand with the Irma EMP. And it's the same exact setup on both officers, except for the weapon. And when I'm looking at the overview, it's showing basically no difference between those two. But as I scroll down, I can see there's a difference between the attack boost and the defense boost. As I keep going down, I'm going to get to normal attack damage taken and counter attack damage taken. And we see that it is a 50% reduction in counterattack and normal attack damage taken when using the new weapon. For normal attack damage dealt, it's exactly the same. For counterattack damage dealt, I only am seeing a 20% increase. But I'm seeing a 50% reduction in normal attack and counterattack damage taken. Now, going to the weapon itself, which we will do. Forgive me, it's a little bit hard to manage this. As far as damage taken, it doesn't directly say that you take 50% less damage. It says that you deal counterattack damage and the target takes 50% more. And then counterattacks have a 30% chance to reduce the target's damage. So this is an interesting thing that's not even mentioned in here. So when it says targets take 50% more, that's not actually what's happening. It looks to me, and you can sit down and look at this yourself, but when I go to the comparison, it looks like you're taking 50% less damage. So both of these officers, exactly the same setup with Irma versus the Moss. Normal attack damage taken, I'm going to take 50% less normal attack damage and 50% less counterattack damage. So this is something that nobody's mentioned that I know of. So I thought I'd bring it up. Now, I have been asked, so are these new weapons the same as when the Labels came out, where the Label was much better for Garrison and Rally? And looking at the differences between them, yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty much the same. That the new weapons are going to be stronger for Rally and Garrison, but mainly in a one-on-one fight. So a Rally versus a Garrison, the new weapons would be stronger than typical Rally or Garrison weapons. And a big reason of that is that damage reduction. Any questions about anything? I'll check the chat. Okay, so the question was, I got two questions in there. One was, is it better to use the new weapons for Rally and Garrison than the current Rally and Garrison weapons? Technically, yes. You're probably, I haven't tested it myself, but looking at the numbers and the way that the stats are reading, yeah, it would appear so. And we could actually, let me see if it'll let me do a comparison here. Officer info comparison. I'm going to choose a system weapon and we'll go with the Delisle. And then we'll do Emily. And we'll add the Rally weapon. And you can actually see here, there's a huge difference that blue doesn't have in that comparison overview. Now it's showing that with the Rally weapon that it's more, it's got a higher rating. But as far as the picture, it looks like the red has it beat. So if I scroll down, my defense goes much higher using the Rally weapon. And it's not showing a difference in attack. Normal attack damage, though, is going to go up 110%. This is per weapon with the Delisle. Normal attack damage taken is going to be reduced by 50%. Counterattack damage is only going down 10%. And the counterattack damage taken is going up 50%. It's also showing that for skill damage and stat damage. So all damage taken is being reduced by 50% with the newest weapons. You're also dealing 110% more normal attack damage, but you're taking a loss on 10% on the counterattack damage. So on a rally, that's not really going to matter. So one on one, yeah, the new weapon is going to be far superior. Yeah, you're losing the amount of units in the rally or the garrison. That's true. And your attack percentage is dropping quite a bit. Or defense, it just depends on how it's set up. You know, if it's the rally weapon, you're getting the defense. If it's the garrison weapon, you get the attack. Those numbers don't matter at all when it comes to damage dealt and damage received. Those are the real big numbers. So you're going to lose capacity, but end up dealing far more damage and taking far less damage with less amounts of troops. This is the exact same thing that we saw with um, the bells when they came out. You also see a lot of people in this bio during the mercenaries that a lot of people were trying to run tank destroyer rallies with the new weapons, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're just annihilating." And the main point there is that they were using the new weapons. It wasn't just that it was the tank destroyer officers. Now the tank destroyer officers are running a tank destroyer rally going to be stronger right now than the current rally officers. But when you also add the newest weapons that are going to be more effective, then that doesn't mean that it has necessarily to do only with the new tank destroyer officers. You're also getting that benefit of the tank destroyer weapon. So those are going to be more effective on a one-on-one fight than using rally and garrison weapons. Any questions about anything we've gone over so far? Did anybody find this useful? So main things I want you to take away from this are obviously the big difference in, am I field fighting? If yes, I should use the new weapon. If not, if I'm filling rallies and garrison, I should probably stick to the older weapon. Rallying now, there's also that hidden stat of the 50% less damage taken that is incorrectly explained um, in the weapon information, but we can see here in the comparison. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw that. It's completely different than what they're saying. Yeah, you're going to see that the differences between should I use the new weapons for rally and garrison is going to greatly depend on the fight that you're dealing with. Like, are they swarming your rally? Well, the new weapons don't protect you that much against swarms. Um, that's where the older weapons, even the rally garrison weapons, are going to be more effective against swarms. If it's one-on-one damage, yeah, the new weapons take the cake. So if you're just doing a rally against a garrison and they don't have the ability to have any kind of field control or attack your rally or garrison along with it, then the new weapons would be far superior. Uh, Particularly, the Delisle is going to be the rally garrison weapon choice. The Moss should not be used for rally and garrison. unless you were running a tank only rally or a tank only garrison, then the new weapon would be more effective. But uh, honestly, if you're not running a strong field fighting march, I don't really see a reason to grab the new weapons that have been released versus the old ones. I just don't see that you're going to get a benefit for the amount it's going to cost. Give me a second, Negan. I'm going to answer that question. Let me read it and make sure I understand completely. Okay, so if I am going to be the question is just siege in general, how do I keep my rally alive for as long as possible to deal the most amount of damage? And the answer to that is going to be, let me see if I got it saved. Maybe I do. Yeah, there we go. So when I'm leading a rally, so here's just an example. This is just an example. This guy's garrison was not a strong garrison. Capacity is going to be extremely important for keeping a rally or garrison alive, particularly for rallies, because the more units in it, the more health it's going to have just in general. So it will stay alive a lot longer, um, even if it's being swarmed. But its stats are mainly dependent on the amount of units in it. So the further it drops, the more damage it's going to be taking and the less damage it's going to be dealing. So if I'm rallying a base and I want longevity on my rally, the new rally weapons are very good for that because they increase your defense and capacity. So this gives the rally in general much more longevity. But one thing I do, even the rally dog is going to also increase capacity. And let me see if it'll pull up. Now, the rally dog, it mainly increases your attack. Um, you could try to offset that. Um, Even as a rally lead, you could try to offset that by, if you're just wanting the rally to stay alive as long as possible. Oh my gosh, this is a huge screen to have to scroll through. You could use one of the new tank dogs that will increase your defense an extra 200%. Um, just to beef up the defense. If you have an Apex, you're going to take a 15% reduction in damage, um, which is a huge boost. So that is a way, as a rally lead, you could attempt that. Your main goal is to increase your defense in your rally capacity. Um, yes, the rally dog is going to increase capacity, but I'm looking at, let's say at level 80, 400,000 extra units. Is that extra 400,000, is that going to be worth a 200% increase in defense? And if I'm using the Apex or a stat that has damage reduction of 15%, uh, that's probably going to keep the rally alive even better than the extra 400,000 units. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, and I think I think the other dog, the beagle, the tank destroyer dog, might even be better for that. Um, but I don't have one because I don't run tank destroyers, so I'm not super familiar. But that's just something to maybe keep in mind. But one thing that I do to help when I'm rallying an enemy base is I bring a rally helper. So here I have brought a tank march. Tank marches are generally known to have extremely high defense and health. And I ran an Irma, which had increased defense. Which a Moss could be really effective for this because it's going to affect that enemy base a little bit. But I threw a Car 98 on it so that I'm not taking any losses except for the turret kills. Run a 60% March expansion on that, all T6. That offsets the damage that the rally is taking. And it's putting it on this extra March that isn't really taking troop losses. It also increases the amount of lost units that the enemy is taking because they're going to take off a 5-star Car 98 an extra 20% loss of any seriously wounded units from my extra March hitting. So if I'm a rally lead, one of the best things to use to help you when you're swarming a base or attacking an enemy base are extra marches that have Car 98s. They don't even have to be massively starred up, but what I'm doing is I'm offsetting the amount of damage being dealt to that rally from the base and putting it on a march where, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of repairs on that march possibly, but I'm not going to have the lost units. Yeah, that is a good point. That the field dogs are only 50% effective on base or attacking a base. I wonder if there's anything on. But there's also the 50% effectiveness when rallying an enemy base from the dog, from the rally dog. So, or garrison dog. Any other questions you guys got for me? All right, so field marches. I can tell you that I went ahead and just I 6-starred one of the new weapons, and I was running a mix of the new weapon with the old weapon against the mercenaries. It's effective, but you're going to get half of one and half of the other, right? So if one is geared towards high damage output, but not great against multiple enemies attacking it, and the other one is better for multiple enemies attacking it of taking less damage, but is not dealing as much damage, then uh, it's 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 just half and half. It's not going. I would pick one or the other. Um, in my own testing of running one new weapon with one old weapon, I wasn't really happy with it. Um, because the new weapons are geared towards being able to deal a very large amount of damage very quickly. So people that were running both of the new weapons I mean, if they were just doing quick hits, they were coming out way ahead on points on me, and I was ending up having to just do far more repairs than they were. And when I was running the old weapons, I did fine against people who were running old weapons, but people that were running the new weapons, they were just smoking me. Also, the people we were fighting, they had more field fighters in general than we did. So just having more bodies on the field already increased the amount of damage that we were going to be taking, just because it's more marches attacking, less marches. And that's really what the new weapons are designed for. It's to get more people involved in fighting. Um, and it's taking away power from bigger whales that like to just sit out there. Because even though they can deal a large amount of damage to one person, if you got more bodies on the field, you're going to eat up whales all day long. Like these Russian accounts were just slapping me around like a child. Um, and I'm far stronger than them individually, like way stronger. But as soon as they had like three marches or two to three marches against my one march, I'm not coming out positive out of all those trades. So I have the question is, does it make sense to run the new weapons if you have a solo type of base? And by solo, I'm assuming you mean one single unit type. Well, I have one single unit type on base. So there's just tanks, and there's a lot of them. Which, if y'all haven't switched over to a single unit type base, you're really missing out. I went into bio with 6.7 million troops, and after all was said and done, I am almost at 7 million. I'm taking less losses than I've ever taken before in a bio. Um, and I'm coming out of bio with more units than I go into it with. And I'm not buying all those units. That's just off of just general, um, making units and the rewards you get in bio. Um, so it's working out fantastic for me. Now it works out much better when you're already at a higher troop count and you've got most of your research done and your confidentiality up. And but I'm still running the old weapons on my base. Um, I was trying to get people to rally my base, and nobody would touch it. Let me say that again. They'll rally $100,000 bases, like white and gold bases in our zone, but they won't touch my base. And it's just a single type base using. Even when I was running Elsa Eva as the garrison officers with the older weapons, they still wouldn't touch it, even with an older warship maxed. It's a very cost effective way for free players and low spenders to build their base, and it's going to save you an entire officer that you have to develop every year. This is living proof. Like, I will continue to keep this type of base because it's so cheap. And now I'm at a point where it's so strong that nobody can defeat it in the bracket we're in with what they have. And we're in bracket 4, and we're getting towards the top of it. And until we're in bracket 5, we're not really encountering people that have enough firepower to take it out. So if you're in the lower brackets and you're not doing this, you're really wasting your money. Like, just switch to the single type of unit. Tank destroyers and infantry will still be very effective, with enough units on the base of that type. Yeah, yeah. If you're running a single unit type base, the the new garrison dog, its only benefit. Let me pull up. Let's go here. It's going to be the same on the rally dog at level 60 when it negates effects from other troops, excluding the target. So excluding the main target that hits your base, it it gets rid of the negative effects. In other words, the debuffs that you're going to take when being attacked. That's the big bread and butter for the garrison and rally dogs. It's not necessarily the capacity, it's the negated debuffing effects. So on my base, you'll see there's no garrison dog. I just run a new dog. That's completely effective because instead of that, what I'm gaining is for free 100% increased defense. The target's going to take an extra 25% counterattack damage, and there's a 30% chance to deal counterattack damage of 800 multiplier, which is only going to be 400 on my base. I'm gaining a huge 100% increase in defense with a free dog. Do you know what the cost on the new dogs is? Oh, I can't say because my wife's on the call. It's expensive. To max one out, it's very expensive. In fact, if you had an old garrison dog at level 100 and you had maxed it on day one, and then you bought the monthly pack and you saved all the monthly stakes for an entire year, then when the new dogs came out, if you took all those extra stakes, they were premium stakes, and you decommissioned and ground up the old garrison dog and put all that on the new garrison dog, it would take it halfway altogether. That'd be halfway. That's an insanely bad trade-off. Like keeping up with the garrison dogs and the rally dogs is undeniably extremely expensive. Level 80 is halfway. And so, 80, 81, that's halfway. You'll see my rally dog is halfway. Is it worth spending what would be the equivalent of thousands of dollars to finish a rally or garrison dog to level 100 for the minimal benefit you're going to get? Absolutely not. In fact, you only need level 60 to get the main benefit of the rally and garrison dog. And if you just buy the monthly packs on the premium stake and you save that for a year, that's going to take you to level 60. If you already had a rally dog at level or garrison dog at level 60 and decommissioned it. So it's just designed that if you want that negated effect, you can do it, but it's going to be a minimal cost of the monthly premium stake pack and then decommissioning your old garrison dog and taking all that and putting it on the new one every single year. So some people, if you have a garrison and you're going to run an actual garrison officers on your base, then you might as well go ahead and do the garrison dog. But if you want to decrease the question you have to ask yourself is the total price on it, is it really worth the benefit I'm getting? And that's something that it's going to come down to how much you're willing to put into the game for something that's planned obsolescence. On base, it should be 50% for all dogs, regardless if it's new or old. At least that's my understanding of it. I'm replying to a message in the chat. I mean, my position on should I buy this, should I buy that? Whatever you do, you should try not to buy anything or very minimally. The game is designed where you can maintain one max field march easily every year with a maxed brand new warship for a minimal spending amount. But what happens is everybody goes, well, oh, but I want to do this and I want to do that. As soon as you math, you're exponentially increasing the amount that you're spending for what you're getting in the game. Any other questions? Real quick, I just wanted to say if you find these talks helpful, there is somebody in the game, Julian. Sorry, I had to look it up. Julian is one of the mods in Discord. Um, if you send Julian a message saying that, that if you found something helpful, any kind of good feedback for me means that they will continue to advertise and allow me to do these classes. Um, and they'll throw me my little pieces of gold for doing the classes, which I greatly appreciate so that I can spend them on deportations and lockdowns in bio. But it's really helpful for me. It also makes me feel good. Um, so if everybody could stroke my ego slightly, it's greatly appreciated. If you have questions that you think of later, you can always shoot me a message. I might be able to address it in one of the classes. If there's a certain topic you want me to go over, I can do that. Um, in a future class, usually. If you are running a tank officer rally, so this question in the comment, and you're planning on using the Delisle or a tank destroyer weapon in it, don't do that. That's going to be less effective. Like, keep it with the tank weapon. I know this from experience. Um, Normal attack damage is not good on tanks. Increasing the normal attack damage is minimal because they're all geared towards high counterattack damage output. So you would want to increase the counterattack damage as much as possible. And the normal attack damage increase from the Delisle is not going to translate to anywhere near as good using a tank destroyer weapon or a weapon geared towards normal attack on a tank rally. All right, I'll see you all next week, hopefully, on Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks for joining, and good luck at Raiders.